Today's episode is brought to you by Positively Productive Systems, whose mission is to be the antidote to your stress and to provide compassionate productivity resources and coaching that help you heal and achieve. Be sure to check out both free and paid resources at positivelyproductive.com/resources.
I have a reminder to go exactly off, let's say, for a marketing task. I do all my marketing tasks starting at 3. I have all the reminders remind me at 3 o'clock for each task that is set for marketing. Now, do they all get done at 3? No, but that's why the marketing block is from 3 to 5. And so I have time, I'm not going to rush, and rushing my marketing tasks don't take me very long because I either create a template, so it's just a simple, hey, let me reproduce this, replace a video, and it's like, wow, that was easy. And yet my brain likes to play a trick on me. It's like, this takes for flipping ever.
You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping overwhelmed clients make space for what matters. Join me each episode as we explore ways to live a more proactive, productive life with topics and guests that speak to simplifying self-awareness, systems, and so much more. I understand overwhelm personally as a fellow multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and while I'm grateful that neurodiversity awareness is on the rise, I want to do my part, especially when it comes to being productive. For the longest time, I've been saying that we all work differently, and we need to choose how we approach it to reflect that. I think it's why, as a coach, I attract a neurodiverse community. But no matter how your brain works, the best way to work it is to know it. Today, my guest definitely knows his brain well. Jimmy Clare is an autism advocate, motivational speaker, author, and founder of Crazy Fitness Guy. And his podcast, Crazy Fitness Guy Healthy Living, explores healthy living through autistic eyes. Jimmy, who lives with autism, shares today how his brain works and what he does to be more productive. He tried to warn me before we began. Describing his brain would be scary, but I laughed and I told him I have no fear when it comes to that. Bring on the assessments. Let's dig in. And we did. And it turns out what he describes will very likely be familiar to you. Overwhelm, struggle to focus, distractibility, and much more. He then shared all he does to address those things, including his calendar method, which is a time blocking that's very similar to my flex blocking method, how he schedules his week, the techniques he uses to work on his projects, and the technology he uses to support it. This episode is packed with tips and ideas that will inspire you even if you're already very focused. And if you are neurodiverse, take heart because it will inspire and encourage. Jimmy impresses me so. He's determined and successful and doing it all while attending college. I truly believe it's because he's unlocked what works for him and his brain. You know I say it all the time, your number one productivity tool is self-awareness. My first episode here was all about that. Be sure to listen to the end during the rapid wrap-up when he spoke like a true multi-passionate, when he didn't want to give just one resource, and he had already given us so many. For the favorite quote, Jimmy used, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results." This one is traditionally attributed to Einstein. That works for me. But what works even more is the message. If things aren't working for you, pay attention to what you're doing repeatedly. If you'd like some help assessing where you are, what you're doing repeatedly, if it's working for you or not, there are a couple ways I can help. I welcome you to check out the resources I offer at positivelyproductive.com/hub, HUB. That's where all of my coaching packages and resources are. If you're a DIYer, the Positively Productive Systems Resources Vault will offer you the workbooks and mini trainings you need to get the guidance to get to it and get it done. And if you're new to coaching and would like to review where you're at with a mini assessment and action plan, you may like to try the Productivity Boost session. And for any of it, if you have questions, I always welcome you to message me. Now let's join Jimmy and chat productivity for the neurodiverse. Welcome to the Positively Living podcast, Jimmy Clare. I am so delighted to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you start by telling us a bit about who you are, what you do, what makes you light up?
I'm a motivational speaker, author, and founder of crazyfitnessguide.com. Oh, and I forgot to include Autism Advocate as well. So pretty sure that goes in order, but it's opposite day, I guess.
An autism advocate because you live with autism.
Yeah, that's pretty much about me in a nutshell.
So let's talk a bit about your personal experiences and the reason that we connected, well, through podcasting. So, I mean, you do so many different things, and we both know that when you're podcasting, when you're speaking, you have to stay organized and you're trying to be productive. And there's so many things that you're trying to create. You seem like my people in terms of wanting to create so much and have all these ideas. And you have to keep track of them, but you have to keep track of them in a way that works for you. So, first, I'd love to know a bit more about like your personal experiences and how your brain works and what you've had to do to, I guess find the right things for you.
Definitely. Before I answer those questions, are you sure you want to know how my brain works? Because I have it's a huge, big mess of spider webs all over the place.
Should we have a disclaimer?
Yeah.
Grab a beverage, take a moment. Yes. You know what? I'm a productivity coach and I don't get scared easily. I'd love to know.
So basically how my brain works is I literally have so many different ideas every single day for different stuff. For example, I decide, well, I have some time. I'm gonna go do this before I work on my co-author book. Even though it's like I should finish my co-author book, which I'm going to do, but something mindless first before I started thinking about everything else. And the reason I brought that up is because my brain likes to work into stuff little by little before it goes into something very, very huge. Because it's like something like a big, huge task. It's like, how many steps is this? Holy crap. No. Like in school, when every time when there was like a huge paper due, it's like, oh boy. I think writing a co-author book is much easier than 12 pages versus a school paper. It's like, uh-oh. It's like I have to word stuff correctly. I can't say this. I can't say that.
It's a lot of limits. So is it like your brain needs a warm up before you get into the bigger project? Is that what you mean?
I think my brain needs to chunk stuff up because I get overwhelmed quickly. And I've been trying to work in 20-minute intervals instead of 30. The reason I do 20 is because then it's like, instead of two big work blocks, I split it up into three work blocks of 20, 20, and 20. And I have like a 15-minute break. The reason why I do 15 is because 10 is just like, I read a lot of stuff on my computers for like through my Kindle app on my computer. And if that's like updating or downloading something and it's taken forever, at least I have at least some time to read before I have to do what I'm doing.
So are you saying that with the 20-minute work sessions, you're doing 3 of them and then taking a break?
No, I'm doing 20 minutes break, 20 minutes break, 20 minutes break.
Oh, nice. Okay. And the 20 minutes itself is not far off of the traditional Pomodoro, which is 25. And then you're giving yourself a bigger break. I actually really like that because we need that break.
Yeah, and after like 4 of those, I give myself a 30-minute break.
Nice. Yeah, it is. It's a similar pattern to the Pomodoro, but it's making it your own, which is what I've been saying for a long time now. So the 20 minutes, did you find that you were trying longer and you just weren't focusing? And did you make it shorter because of that?
Yeah, when I was doing like 30-minute intervals, I was like, Well, I'm losing focus by the 20, 25 minute mark. And it's like, when's my break? And sometimes when I do like a whole hour, it's like, I am literally bored. Get me the hell out of here. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, a bored brain is, oh, it's scrolling on social media in a heartbeat, right?
I did that yesterday, which was really stupid. Like, I wanted to read my book before karate, but my brain was just like, hey, let's just hop on social media real quick. And then I missed my chance of reading my book before karate. And it's like, why did I do that? That was just stupid. It's like, I should just put it down. I should just walked away. But it's like, man, let me go check something real quick. 30 minutes later.
And you know what? It happens to the best of us. Now, you talked about getting overwhelmed quickly. You talked about finding that limit of focus time, which is actually, it's just so smart because we all have this. There's a certain threshold that we have, right? There's a certain limit that we hit. And if we can find that sweet spot and work within it, we are going to be so much more productive. I had this happen recently where I was sitting at the computer and I was just drained. And I was like, you know what? I'm stopping work. And now I understand we don't always have that luxury, but if we do have the choice, choose rest, choose the break fully, and then come back fresh. And when I did that, it was completely different.
When I told you just the other day, I started this new method. I don't know exactly what the method's called because I did not invent this. Basically, what I've done, she made hers a little bit more defined and everything. Mine is like kind of a little bit broad because I just have so many different tasks I'm doing. And so I was like, well, I have my different tasks in my to-do list. I don't want my calendar to become my to-do list. So my mornings are my most productive because I'm still in college. I have a class at 10:10 in the morning, but I leave for it at 9 o'clock. So I allow myself to have a productivity morning set for 2 hours. I call it work/work. So what I've been trying to do for myself is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 to let's say 11:30. I'm doing a 20-minute work time and a break for a total 2 hours.
Mhm.
Now, if I finish everything, the work task at hand, then I continue to do something else. Like I may start my marketing tasks, even though my marketing block is in the afternoons at 3 o'clock. But it's like, okay, well, if I'm all caught up on what I'm doing, like my podcast or my article, which is like I'm already caught up for next week, and it's like, what do I do next week? So I set up those big blocks of time, like 2 hours total, and I do that for marketing. And then on Mondays only, because there was one week where I was literally troubleshooting pretty much everything that just fell apart in 1 week. I had to factory reset my computer. Because I factory reset my computer and everything, I lost everything, even though I had backed up everything. But then one thing led to another. It became a ripple effect. And so that started on 2 weekends ago. Then it trickled into Monday, trickled into Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday. And there's all these other things too. I'm like, if one more person asks me for troubleshooting this and that, I'm gonna go freak out. I admit during that week I did say some stuff to some companies where I was a little hot-headed, but I didn't have a relaxing week. And those 2 weeks, 2 weekends ago, because I was troubleshooting this, troubleshooting that. And I'm like, I can't take this. So on Mondays, I decided I'm going to allow myself, I think I allow myself an hour just for admin tasks. So
Mhm.
it could be emailing a company, troubleshooting something later on. It can also be checking my income for my website. Not every Monday, but like I have set different dates and times in my to-do list.
So it's one of the things that you would
Yeah.
check during that time, but you have a kind of a general list of things that you could do during admin time. And yeah, I do the same thing on Mondays. Admin is kind of getting my ish together, right? And figuring out what's going on and checking on things. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I bought this business course last year, and so now I set up specific time for that, and it's a 30-minute block. And the reason I do 30 minutes is because most of the chapters or segments, most of them is like 30 minutes to 45-ish. So I was like, I'm going to do 30 minutes Monday and Wednesday because Fridays I do not want to do it because I have a doctor's appointment every other Friday. So I was like, I don't want to get into that, screwing up that. So I do that at like 11:30-ish. So I set that up for just 30 minutes. And then I go on to the admin tasks. And I've been liking this new setup I've had because it's been making me feel more productive. It's making me get my stuff done. I'm more on time because like sometimes I'm finishing up stuff by like 5, 6 o'clock, sometimes 7. I'm like, why the hell am I finishing up this task at 7 o'clock? And then so finally I had this guest on my live stream and she told me about this, the way she set something up. And I was like, I got to do this for myself. And it's like, I really hate my old schedule.
So how is this differing from what you were doing before?
What I was doing before, I was pretty much like working on a specific task nonstop. So, for instance, let me take troubleshooting for example. My brain gets fixated on a particular problem, and I'm gonna keep going on and on and on about it. And it's like, oh, let me go fix this. So, and I try to fix something, and I know it's not on my end because I come from a tech savvy background and whatnot, and I'm a pretty tech savvy person. I might not know the whole ins and outs and everything, but I would go pretty much Google the heck out of the answer until I found the answer. And then like I get caught up in all net junk and whatnot, and I haven't gotten to anything else. And then I was like, I could be marketing my show more. I could be marketing my brand more, and I haven't been doing that. Then the other tasks were I take my recent live streams and share it on social media. I was doing it on a Saturday. It's a bad idea to do it for me to do it on a Saturday, and here's why. I only play video games on the weekend, and I normally like to start playing around 1 o'clock because my friends are on and whatnot. And so basically, sometimes the video editing takes long because I had to download it from my channel from YouTube. And if my internet's not playing very well and nice, it's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I'm like,
Ugh.
holy crap. And it's like, I might as well watch a snail's race.
Oh, yeah. What you're talking about here is that it was conflicting with you having fun and taking a break and doing the things that you love. So, what you're talking about is a bunch of different things. So, you're talking about creating limits so that you're not sort of losing track of time. And that often tanks your productivity because you get caught up in something where you're not really getting things done. And then you're also neglecting other stuff you need to do. You're also talking about when you're scheduling things. So, Saturdays, making them your fun day instead. I'm curious about the getting fixated on something. And I was going to ask about that if you had a sort of fixation or hyper focus on things, which can be good sometimes. But how do you, now that you're trying out this new method, how do you stop yourself? Is it by timer or like how do you get yourself out of that potential fixation?
Just to give you an example, real quick. So the other night, I was trying to share something on both I use this tool called Crowdfire for social media marketing, and there was an error. Something wasn't working. I thought I set up something wrong, and not blaming the company or anything. Bugs happen and whatnot, and So instead of me thinking like, oh, how am I going to share this? How am I going to do this? I decided I'm just going to contact the company, tell them what's happening, wait for them, move on. And so I finally told my brain that, and it's like, it's not on my end. It's something happening on their end. And it's like, it's not your website. It's their website. Don't even go there.
Yeah, so you're catching yourself. It's like communicating with yourself, right? And
Yeah.
and I guess that's a big point of self-awareness, which is so important. I was also curious too, do you use timers and alarms and things like that to keep track of what you're doing?
What I've done in my to-do list, instead of just having like one task after the other,
Mhm.
I mean, like it shows that up on my to-do list anyway, but what I've done, I have a reminder to go exactly off, let's say for a marketing task.
Mhm.
I do all my marketing tasks starting at 3. I have all the reminders remind me at 3 o'clock for each task that is set for marketing. Now, did they all get done at 3? No, but that's why the marketing block is from 3 to 5.
Mhm.
And so I have time. I'm not going to rush. And like wishing my marketing tasks don't take me very long because I either create templates, so it's just a simple, hey, let me reproduce this, replace a video. And it's like, wow, that was easy. And yet my brain likes to play a trick on me. It's like, this takes for flipping ever.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's a universal brain trick. Brains love to be like, "Jimmy, this sounds awful. It's going to take forever. You don't want to do it." So, curious with the reminders, two things. One is, are those reminders for specific marketing tasks or to remind you that it's a marketing block time to work on your stuff? And two, where are these reminders going off? Phone or computer or all the above?
So basically, I set my calendar up for a marketing block reminder, but then I also have these tasks just to go off right at 3 o'clock along with it, just so it tell me, hey, it's time to get to marketing. And like nothing else matters around the marketing time. And it's like anybody else who wants to email you, well, they can wait until after marketing time or wait until the next day.
That's one of the best productivity tips out there. That is the concept of boundaries and limits, is to say, when you are focused on the thing that you're saying you're focused on now, everything else can wait. But the good news is that when you're done with that, then you can tend to those other things that did wait. They will each have their time when you structure your calendar like you're doing. I think it's absolutely brilliant. As we come up to the time in which we're wrapping things up, are there any other favorite tips or tricks, things that you're using that you want to say to encourage those of us who are honestly in the same boat with the overwhelm and trying to really stick to the things we need to get done?
Yeah, I have a boatload of tools that I use. I found this browser called Sidekick Browser. It keeps all my most used websites, tools, and everything all in one place. And I can jump from one set of profiles. This thing is the most lightest weight browser I've ever used in my pretty much my life. But like it blocks ads. It also focuses on privacy, but then it has a built-in sidebar, so it keeps your most. So instead of using the bookmarks bar, it is right in the sidebar. It's like, oh, I gotta go to marketing today. Switch your profile, marketing, done. I have like so many different profiles set up, and it's like it's good typing in the search bar anymore. Everything at my fingertips. I also use Notion, my tool that I keep on my guest list for my podcast, just so I know who's coming up next, what episodes are pending, what's published. So it's like, okay, I still haven't published an episode yet. Okay, gotta make sure I gotta publish this eventually. And then I use it as kind of my all-in-one tool just to keep track of all my stuff. So like, there's so many cloud-based storage out there. I was like, I hate using cloud storage for certain things because, like, now out of all the cloud storage do I use, where did I put this one particular file? Let me go on a wild goose chase. And so now I have everything in one place. And it's like, gone are the days of me finding anything. And it's like, here's everything at my fingertips again.
And that is so important because that's another productivity bust right there is when you're constantly searching for things, wondering where things are. So, what you've been doing is taking the guesswork out of what you need to work on when and how to find the things you need to do those tasks.
Exactly.
Nice.
It gets overwhelming when I can't find stuff. And I also get overwhelmed when I lose something or a
Mhm.
tool's not working. It's like, oh boy. I thought my calendar tool stopped, my scheduling tool for my podcast stopped working today. Well, apparently, while I was setting this whole schedule up, I messed it up myself. And I was like, well, I feel stupid.
Again, it happens to the best of us. Okay, so you mentioned Sidekick Browser and Notion, and that's definitely been mentioned on the podcast before. And I use Notion actually for tracking my podcast lineup, so I do enjoy that. Are there any other favorites before we get into our rapid wrap up?
I also use Freedom Blocker just to block distracting websites. So I'm not going on Amazon at a certain time or shopping for a certain time. And then I also use a cold turkey blocker. And the reason I use two is just because, like before I got into Freedom Blocker, I blocked cold turkey blocker, but that was only good for Windows computers where Freedom Blocker is cross-platform, and Cold Turkey is only one. And I think the last tool I use my Tick to-do list, and I use it for the built-in Pomodoro timer because I try using, no offense to Microsoft, but I used to use Microsoft's to-do list app,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have built-in Pomodoro timers. So I try using a different tool for a timer, and it's like, I can just open this at the same time. I'm like, yeah, slim freaking chance this is happening. You know how many times I open that timer? Zippo, nada.
I love it. And I love how you're figuring this out. You're like, I'm not using it. So find the one you do. In productivity, this concept of friction, you want the least friction possible to do the next step, to take the next step, to open the app, to do the thing, to create the task, whatever it is. And you found the things that are easiest for you and that work for you. I love it.
And just to have a quick disclaimer that I've only been using this method for probably a week or 2 weeks now, so I'm still getting used to it. I still get a little bit minor hiccups here and there just because I might have been somewhere else when the timer started somewhere, but then I make up for a little bit if I have time before karate or it was a day that I don't have karate. It's still a work in progress. I might have to tweak some stuff here and there depending on if I really need to or not.
I appreciate that. It's not like you've been doing this for years, but also what you're talking about is life. We need to have that flexibility. We need to keep trying things. But what I will say is this, even though this particular configuration is something that is relatively new for you, figuring out how you work best is not something new. You've been doing it for a while and you have been successful doing so many things. You've figured out how to get those things done, but you're also focused on making it just that much better, which is why we're talking today. And with that, before we get into our rapid wrap up, I would love it if you would tell us where we can find you, the podcast, and all the details about you.
The best way is to go to crazyfitnessguy.com. I have so many different services. I'm like on 100 plus social media platforms between me and Crazy Fitness Guy. Somebody said like you should only focus on your best platforms, and it's like I don't do take back. Sorry.
I love it. Okay, Crazy Fitness Guy. I'm going to have links in the show notes. And also, if you follow me, I'm following Jimmy, so it'll be easy to find him. All right, are you ready to have the rapid wrap up?
Yep.
Couple fun questions. And the third one, you've already answered a ton, but you get a chance for a bonus one. But the first one would be just tell us a song that lifts your spirits, makes you dance, energizes you.
I've been thinking of this pretty much all day, just especially when I was in class today, because we were talking about the most worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm not going to name any names, but holy crap, it was terrible. But I think my favorite song would have to be. I don't know if you're familiar with Walker Hayes.
Mhm.
I think it's one of his newer songs. I could be wrong, but it's called Your Life, and I just like the beat and I liked everything about it. And it's like I really like this song. It's like I like the instruments part of it. I like the kind of like the pop piece of it and everything. It's like I really like this.
Yeah, we like what we like, and I love it. That's a great one. Now, how about a quote or a mantra? Just something that you live by or that you love to share with people.
One of my favorite quotes is, I know this might sound like a little old schoolish, but one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein is, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's the true definition of insanity.
That is such a good quote. Yes, and it's such an inspiration to us to think about what we're doing. And it's like if you're frustrated where you are and you want to change, what are you doing over and over again? Let's think about it. Love that one. Okay, now the next question is a resource. It could be a book or an app that's made my life better. You've given us lots of great apps, but if there's one other thing, or maybe a book or some other resource that's really just been great for life in general that you want to share, go for it.
To be honest, I think one of my favorite apps that I use on my phone,
Mhm.
maybe not every single day, just because, not that I don't want to use it every single day, but sometimes I just kind of forget it's there. But I do like to use it when I definitely do have time to use it. And I'm going to name two apps if you don't mind.
No, I don't, because I hate choosing two.
I can't choose one.
I know, I know. Okay, two apps.
So there's this app called Refined. And what I really love about their company is that based on the topics that you choose from, it will send you, I think on the free plan, they give you 7 links. So let's say if your favorite topics were movies, cooking, fitness, and nutrition. Let's just go with that. I don't know. And it will send you like 7 different curated links to you each morning. It lets you pick on what time. I like to do the morning. So it's like, okay, I have something to, if I want to read at lunchtime while I'm having my break, I can read something. But what I also like about it is that you can even follow like any other websites that you want. So it's kind of like an RSS reader. And so you're not relying on, it's not algorithms based or anything.
But what you are talking about is a really strong filter, and that's important in terms of curating what you let into your world. Okay, that was the one app. What was the second one?
And there's this other app called Newsletters with the, I think, 2 S's at the end.
Okay.
And what I like about it is that instead of having all my newsletters in my emails, I don't hate newsletters, but I hate it in my main inbox, especially because I just feel like there's some companies out there. When I think about it, how many emails I send to people, I keep it in mind because it's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I send a lot less than what some of these other companies do.
Yeah, it's too much. Okay, I love that. That's a great tip. Okay, I got one more bonus question for you. Last, but definitely not least. What are you grateful for today, Jimmy?
I think I'm grateful for all the opportunities I have in my getting all these amazing opportunities, like being a guest on your podcast. I'm like 300 words done until I'm done for my next co-author book.
Wow.
But I'm grateful for all the opportunities I get because sometimes I have to go looking for opportunities. Sometimes opportunities come knocking on my door. And sometimes I have to say no to some opportunities.
But it's wonderful to answer them all with a grateful heart, no matter what you decide. Well, speaking of gratitude, I am grateful for you. I'm grateful that we've connected, that I got a chance to be a guest on your podcast, that you have shared so freely with us here today. And I want to thank you, Jimmy, for shining your light so bright in this world and for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and limited, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback, questions, or want to schedule a chat, head to positivelyproductive.com/connect. And if you are looking for any of the resources referenced on the podcast, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.